The Deepwater Horizon oil spill was a catastrophe. It unfolded on April 20th, 2010. The location was the Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Louisiana. An explosion ripped through the Deepwater Horizon oil rig. 11 workers tragically lost their lives. The explosion triggered the largest marine oil spill in history. The disaster had a devastating impact. It affected the environment, the economy, and human lives. The Deepwater Horizon disaster serves as a stark reminder. We must prioritize safety and environmental protection. The Deepwater Horizon disaster was not a single event, it was a series of failures. These failures, both mechanical and human, culminated in tragedy. A key safety device, the blowout preventer, malfunctioned. This failure allowed oil and gas to surge up the well bore. The blowout preventer was supposed to seal the well. It was the last line of defense. However, a design flaw and maintenance issues hampered its effectiveness. The investigation revealed a cascade of errors. These errors compounded the problem. Miscommunication and misinterpretations of well pressure tests also played a role. Warnings were missed or ignored. Time pressures and a focus on cost-cutting likely contributed to these oversights. These factors created an environment where risks were downplayed. Safety took a backseat to expediency. 11 workers paid the ultimate price in the Deepwater Horizon disaster. They were killed instantly in the explosion. Their loss highlighted the dangerous nature of offshore drilling. It brought home the human cost of industrial accidents. The families of the victims continue to grieve. Their loss is a stark reminder of the human toll of this disaster. The disaster also had a profound impact on the livelihoods of thousands of people. Fishing communities were devastated, tourism suffered, the Gulf Coast's economy took a significant hit, fishermen were unable to access fishing grounds, their catches dwindled, the tourism industry, a vital part of the Gulf Coast economy, also suffered. Beaches were closed, visitors stayed away, fearing the oil and its impact. Hotels and restaurants experienced a sharp decline in business. The spill had far-reaching economic consequences, impacting businesses both large and small. The Deepwater Horizon spill unleashed an environmental catastrophe. Millions of barrels of oil spewed into the Gulf of Mexico. This massive spill had a devastating impact on marine life. Birds, fish, sea turtles, and marine mammals were all affected. The oil slick spread rapidly. It covered thousands of square miles of the ocean surface. The oil penetrated sensitive coastal habitats. Marshes and beaches were coated in thick, black crude. This caused extensive damage to fragile ecosystems. The long-term consequences of the spill are still being studied. Scientists are working to understand the full impact on the Gulf's ecosystem. The spill affected various species in different ways. Sea turtles ingested the oil, mistaking it for food. Birds were coated in oil, making it impossible for them to fly. Fish populations declined, impacting the entire food chain. The delicate balance of the Gulf's ecosystem was severely disrupted. Section 5. The Aftermath, Cleanup and Containment. The aftermath of the Deepwater Horizon disaster was marked by a massive cleanup and containment effort. This effort involved thousands of people and lasted for months. Skimming boats worked tirelessly to remove oil from the water's surface. Controlled burns were used to eliminate large patches of oil. Booms, floating barriers, were deployed to contain the spread of the oil. These booms were only partially effective. The sheer volume of oil overwhelmed many of the containment measures. Dispersants, chemicals designed to break down the oil, were also used. The use of dispersants was controversial. Concerns were raised about their potential long-term environmental impact. Despite these efforts, a significant amount of oil reached the shoreline. This necessitated extensive cleanup operations on beaches and in marshes. Section 6. Justice and Accountability, Legal Battles and Settlements. The Deepwater Horizon disaster triggered a wave of legal battles. BP, the company that leased the rig, faced numerous lawsuits. These lawsuits came from individuals, businesses, and government entities. The company was held accountable for its role in the disaster. BP eventually pleaded guilty to 11 felony counts related to the deaths of the workers. They also settled with the US government and 5 Gulf Coast states. The total cost to BP in fines, settlements and cleanup costs reached tens of billions of dollars. The disaster led to significant changes in the regulatory landscape. New safety regulations were introduced for offshore drilling. The Bureau of Ocean Energy, Management, Regulation and Enforcement (BUMRA) was established. This agency was tasked with overseeing offshore drilling and enforcing safety regulations. The aim was to prevent similar disasters from happening in the future. Section 7. Lessons learned, a turning point for safety. The Deepwater Horizon disaster was a wake-up call for the oil and gas industry. It highlighted the importance of safety practices, risk management and regulatory oversight. The disaster exposed weaknesses in industry practices. It revealed shortcomings in regulatory oversight. These failures prompted a reassessment of safety protocols and a push for stricter regulations. The industry began to adopt new technologies and practices to improve safety. Blowout preventers were redesigned to be more reliable. New standards were developed for well design and cementing. Companies implemented more rigorous risk assessment procedures. The role of regulatory agencies was also strengthened. The Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement (BSEE) was created in 2011. This agency was given broader authority to regulate offshore drilling and enforce safety regulations. The Deepwater Horizon disaster served as a catalyst for significant improvements in offshore drilling safety. Section 8. Conclusion: a legacy of loss and a call for change. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill was a tragedy with far-reaching consequences. It was a stark reminder of human error and the need for vigilance. The disaster left an indelible mark on the environment and lives. The legacy of Deepwater Horizon is complex. It's a story of loss, accountability, and ongoing restoration. The disaster led to safety improvements but highlighted the need for vigilance. We must learn from these mistakes and prevent future disasters.